Hello and welcome to EcoElsa, where I also bring you videos to help you and your kids get outdoors, whether you're a parent or a teacher. On this week's video, we'll be going over 10 different things you can do to make your outdoor class or hike more fun. Let's get started. It's snowing! It's snowing! Number 1, play a game outdoors. Some kids learn better through simulations or through physical learning, and a great way to engage these kinds of students outdoors is through a game. It'll help them learn and understand the material better, and maybe even remember it as well. If you don't have time to play a game as part of your outdoor class, a great thing to do is to do games and activities along the way while you're hiking. As long as you can stay on time, these can help keep your students engaged in learning and being outdoors, as well as if you're a parent, this can help keep your kids be engaged while being outdoors and off their phones and enjoying nature. Number 2, allow for free time outdoors. This means giving your students at even the least 5 minutes to just go out and explore and do some things independently that will allow them a chance to apply what they've been learning about in their own way that will help them maybe remember it better. It also can give them a chance to learn a little bit more about themselves and the world around them. Additionally, another benefit of having free time outdoors is it can allow your students time to have a mental break. This will allow them to get ready to focus better for when you move on to the next activity or when you move it back indoors. While some students may not use the free time properly, and you'll need to encourage them to get away from their groups and stop talking about other things and get out and explore and use their free time, there are a lot of students that will benefit a lot from having this free time outdoors so that they can go out and explore. Maybe they'll start building something, maybe they'll just be learning new things or applying things that they've already learned. So this free time can be beneficial because it can help cement in what you've been talking about in class and the activities that you've been doing. Number 3, allow your kids to be creative and build something while they're outdoors. This can be a great way of engaging students who once again learn by doing while you're outdoors, but additionally kids really like building stuff, and even if it's not directly related to what you're learning about, you can find a way of incorporating it in for maybe a different class or something else that you're learning about. So think about that, try and include building something, even if it's as simple as a miniature shelter because that's all you have time for to do an example of, or trying to make one big enough to fit the whole class in it. Go ahead and go do that with your kids. It can be a great way to have a fun afternoon with them and engage in learning about different things like engineering or even the history of shelter making. Additionally, if this is a nature space that you come back to day after day and your school owns, you could probably put up some little forts and leave them and come back and add on to them as long as the school is okay with this. Now for parents, if you're out hiking with your kids, anything that you build, you need to make sure you're in a park that 1, allows it, but 2, usually you need to take them down after you're done building them so that way the next kids can come in and build their own. So make sure you tell your children that if they're going to build something that they're most likely going to have to take it down. Because a lot of kids can get really attached to their forts and they'll get really upset when all of a sudden they realize they have to tear it down. And it's a little sad. Number 4, use fun attention grabbers. When you're outdoors with your kids, they're going to get distracted, as I've said in previous videos before, and so having a fun attention grabber that really gets their attention and makes it enjoyable to be outdoors will be a lot better than like, hey, Jimmy, eyes up here. It's not a really fun way of doing it, and I know occasionally there's just students who are not listening and you need to get to that point, but to make it a more enjoyable class for everyone, including you, have some fun attention grabbers in your back pocket that you can use to engage your students in learning and listening to you that doesn't make them annoyed and you annoyed as well. Let's find a sorry teachers. Let's find a more fun way of getting your students' attention back on you when you need it. So I have a whole video of that. Link is included in the description, so check it out if you're looking for more fun attention grabbers when outdoors. This brings me to number 5. When you're outdoors with kids, you might have them off exploring in the woods a little bit far away from you, and you're going to have to, at points, gather them up and bring them back to a meeting spot so you can have a discussion or go over your next activity. Now, in addition to having fun attention grabbers, having a fun way of gathering your students and bringing them back in can be a great way of doing this as well. Some things that you can do as long as they're old enough that they're aware of their surroundings, is you can have it be a countdown race to the teacher. There is lots and lots of different ways of doing this, and I also have a whole video on gathering student techniques and fun trail hiking games that you can play with your kids in the description below as well. So check out in the description below if you're looking for more fun ways of gathering your students and bringing them in for a learning huddle. Number 6 is purposeful exploration. This differs from free time because the students actually have a specific thing that they need to do while they're outdoors. They're not just kind of wandering willy-nilly. So a lot of teachers like this because it has some of the same benefits as free time, but it's more structured. So this could be something like your students are exploring, looking for certain colors in nature, certain shapes, all the way up to they're looking for certain tracks and trying to figure out what animal they were. Whatever relates to the material that you've been covering outdoors, this is a great way to include it and to help the students further learn and further remember it. Another thing that a lot of teachers like to do, including me, is having exploration cards. And what these are is it's a card that has an activity on it or something the student needs to look for, and they have to do what the card says until they've completed it. And then you can either have them give it back to you, or you can have them hang on to it and do it as like a point system, so then it's also a game, so at the end, kid with the most points wins type thing. These cards can have things on them, again, like looking for certain shapes or colors in nature, all the way up to looking for animal tracks and scat, or seeing if they can find an animal home, all the way to just laying down, enjoying the sky, looking at things. There's a lot of different cards out there, so I'd highly recommend checking them out or finding some online and making your own. I'm still working on putting some of my own exploration cards together, so hang on in there and I'll get you my set soon. Number 7 is let your kids pick things up off the trail. Now, this is letting kids pick up and explore because a lot of times kids explore through their hands. They want to see it in finer detail, but if they're at an age where they're trying to put it in your mouth, that's not okay. And if they're at an age where they want to pick up rocks and sticks and throw them, obviously that's not okay either. So make sure you're doing what's going to keep them safe, but also allowing them that chance to feel and pick up things. As I said in a previous video, link in the description below as well, it's a lot easier to work with your kids and have them be allowed to pick up sticks and rocks and have there be an expectation for how they handle them than to just be yelling at them constantly to not be picking up rocks or sticks. Now, this is in the case that if you're going to have hiking sticks or walking sticks, obviously if kids are misusing them, then they don't get to have them. But if you have a group of kids that's just not going to work, then have set time where they would pick items up off the ground and then they get to look at them, but then they need to return it back where they found it because it's part of nature. Something for you to do, but check out that video if you want more details and ideas for how to handle this behavior. Number 8 is to let your kids run around or climb on things. Now, once again, we want them to be being safe, but when it gets to a certain point in kids' ages, it's a kind of a fighting battle to force them to walk behind you the entire time you're hiking. So if you can have your students be a great group, then they win the reward of getting to run ahead to a certain item on the trail that you can see and that they have to stay there. If they can't listen to the rules, then they don't get to run again next time. And if kids don't want to run, they can just walk with you to the item. Additionally, kids really like climbing things. It's one of the ways they learn. A lot of animals learn through play. So if you can find a way to make climbing safe outdoors for your kids, I would suggest allowing them some time to do that as long as they're not hurting themselves or damaging trees. Now, if you're going to have students climbing outdoors, a couple of tips to help you with this. For starters, one of the best tips that is used in bouldering a lot is to not allow students to climb anywhere higher than their height off the ground. So that means if you have a 4-foot student, their feet can only be 4 feet off the ground. This keeps it a shorter fall if they were to fall off something as opposed to a 20-foot fall, just to put it in perspective. So they could possibly get hurt, but they're not as likely to get very hurt falling that height. Additionally, if students are going to be climbing on something, you could also have them have to have a buddy or a spotter of some sort and have to go over a proper spotting technique. If you're going to have that, make sure the kids have spoon hands, not fork or knife hands, because you don't want them breaking fingers or accidentally stabbing with their fingers into someone who's falling. And the spotter isn't going to be trying to catch them. They're going to have spoon hands and they're going to be trying to keep them on their feet if they were to fall off something. That way they don't hit their head. But you know your students and you want to be being as safe as possible with them. So if you are going to allow them to climb, until I get my climbing video out on good techniques for making it safe for kids, go ahead and check out some other videos, especially some like rock climbing ones for bouldering, because a lot of them have some great tips that you'll be able to use with your students if you want to get out climbing outdoors immediately with them. And when I'm talking about climbing, I'm talking about trees and logs. I'm not talking about a rock wall. That comes with a lot of other different safety concerns. So if you want to do rock wall climbing, check out a rock wall video. So if you're not comfortable with allowing them time to climb, then don't have them be up in trees. Now you can include a little bit of climbing that they might be okay with as part of a game like Flash Flood, where you're along a trail and the kids literally just need to hop on a log or hang onto a tree branch or the tree and get their feet off the ground. So if you want to see how to play Flash Flood, check out that Gathering Students video, because there is a game in it called Flash Flood and I explain the rules to that as well. If you're going to have kids climbing or running, just make sure they're being safe and make sure they're being safe. Number 9 is pair and share. When you're outdoors, you'll have a lot of kids who are going to want to be chatty and talking and asking questions and talking over you. Maybe this sounds like your indoor classroom too. What a pair and share is having students partner up or to get into small groups where they'll talk about something they observed or they thought was funny or etc. Anything that they normally would be whispering to each other, they could now have the chance to say instead of trying to whisper to each other while you're trying to talk. What's nice about having pairs and shares, it allows for a distinction between this is teacher time, the teacher is talking, giving directions, lecturing, and this is now student time. Students are sharing with each other. If it gets a little too noisy, additionally, instead of having pairs, have smaller groups or a little bit bigger small groups, so that way you don't have so many students talking at the same time. But the big thing about this is even if it's a little bit noisy, you're allowing the students that outlet to get out what it is they want to say, how they want to comment about something. So that's why I highly recommend pairs and shares, because it makes teaching outdoors easier. Number 10 is using technology outdoors. If you know your students are going to be trying to sneak their phones and their iPads outdoors, then maybe just embrace it and incorporate them into your class so that way you're not yelling about it the whole time and taking them away. But they have to be doing what they're supposed to be doing with them, otherwise they still get taken away. So you can do this for things like your outdoors to do exploration or to have observations for a research project they're doing. Use the technology to take pictures or to write down observations. You can have students in groups so that way it's more equal if not all students have these resources. Gotta make it more fair so that way everyone enjoys it. Additionally, students can use apps like iNaturalist or eBird to actually take down observations and to load them up as part of citizen science projects so that they're helping further science outdoors. I will, however, give you this one word of warning that bringing technology outdoors runs with the risk of students accidentally losing their phones and cameras and iPads, which is not good. However, I will say this, a lot of the times teachers say not to bring them outdoors, and a student does, and they accidentally lose it, and then the teacher's like, well, sorry, like, I told you not to bring your phone out, Jimmy, it's your own problem now. Guess you're gonna have to come back and hike this trail after school and see if you can find it, because we gotta go back to the classroom now. I told you not to bring it out, you didn't listen. Sorry, your problem. So just keep that in mind, that technology can be a good thing outdoors, but also it can be something students might accidentally lose. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for today. So I hope you liked this video. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to ring that little bell. That way you can be notified the second my videos are up on YouTube. Remember, we went over a ton of different resources today. You can find links to all those videos in the description below, as well as a link to my email list that you can join to get monthly resources to help you and your kids get outdoors, as well as links to all my different social media accounts. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and a blog where I post tons of resources daily to help you and your kids get outdoors as well. As always, I hope you all have a fantastic week. You be safe, learn lots, have fun, and get outdoors. Bye!